Hello everyone, my name is Gabriel Arnold and I'm going to be bringing you a qualitative biomechanical analysis of the climb up. The climb up is a very special and unique maneuver, unique to the sport of parkour, which is essentially the art and discipline of movement, learning how to move the body through the environment as fast and as efficiently as possible. Because of this specialty of both the maneuver and the sport, there isn't a lot of peer-reviewed research or articles on this particular movement. So what I'll be bringing you is the best of what I've been able to deduce over several years of practice myself, as well as observation of the gentleman who I filmed for this particular analysis. So the first step is describing what the climb up is and why it's used in the first place. So, like I said, the climb up is a maneuver used in parkour in order to scale vertical wall faces. Generally speaking, this is going to happen from an initial position known as a cat hang. In this position, as you can see from the picture, a participant hangs from the lip of a wall with the feet placed against the wall as a prop. There are many other different variations on starting position, but this is the one used most often, so it's the one that we'll be using for this analysis. Some of the muscle and joint actions involved in the climb up are the pull with the arms after being in a fully extended position, as well as a kick from the legs after being in a flexed position, followed by a backward kick from the legs after being in a fully extended position. To try and break down every muscle group would be difficult, as the climb up is a total body action and it requires a coordination and timing of pretty much every muscle group. Mainly though, it's going to be the latissimus dorsi and other scapular and back muscles doing the pulling motion, as well as the muscles of the hips and thighs providing the kick off of the wall and the last little bit of force needed in order to push up the wall. There are four main phases of movement that can be observed in a climb up. The first phase is the initial setup, which involves the arms in a fully extended position, eyes locked on the edge of the wall and where the participant will be heading. The back and core are braced lightly in order to be ready to move, while the one leg is held at roughly hip height against the wall in a fully flexed position, both hip, knee, and ankle. The other leg is left to drape down the side of the wall, not actively extended, but as fully extended as possible in a relaxed position in order to prepare for phase two. Phase two is the pulling, the initial pull motion, in which the arms rapidly pull themselves up, similar to a pull-up maneuver done on a bar. At the same time, the fully extended leg drives itself up forcefully, throwing the knee up towards the chest. This creates an initial lifting motion that helps bring the body as high as possible. The leg that was fully flexed and at hip height also extends downward. So basically the two legs switch positions, helping to create a forceful kick up into the air. Phase three involves catching the body with the arms in a fully extended lockout position on the edge of the wall, while the legs are now both fully extended. The leg that was initially flexed now kicks out and away from the wall, as you can see in the picture labeled number 3. This helps lift the body up and away from the wall in order to pull the legs back underneath, as can be seen in picture number 4. The legs are pulled back under, the arms lift up in order to provide room for the feet to touch down, and the maneuver is complete. Here we can see a video of what the climb up looks like at full speed. Basically, it's just like I explained. You can see the initial setup, the first pull, second kick, and then landing on top. This video is the same one slowed down to about 30% of regular speed. you can see the legs pulling up and landing on top of the wall. So, what are some of the primary movements? As I explained, one leg is fully extended while the other remains flexed, the toes pushing into the wall at hip height. Phase 2, you can see the body rise up and create a moment of weightlessness. The main things that would be happening is the friction of the shoe against the wall. If the friction is not enough, or the force being applied is not enough, the foot will simply slip down the wall and will not provide a counter force in order to launch the body upward. One other thing that you may be able to see, if you look at the hands of the individual, you will see that they are flipping from being fingertips only to getting the palms on top of the wall. And you can see this fully in this picture. The hands are now placed against the wall face. The wrists are flexed backwards. The rest of the arm is almost fully extended. The chest leans over the wall ever so slightly, while the legs, the main movement of this phase, kick backward, lift the body up, and prepare it for phase 4, in which the legs are drawn back under, the arms are pulled out of the way, and the individual is now standing on top of it. You may notice that the eyes have never lost focus with the edge of the wall, the landing spot of where it was going to be. This is mainly because if the eyes were to look too far up or to look too far down, losing sight of the landing zone may cause the individual to stumble and fall off the edge of the wall. Here we can see a close-up version of what the movement looks like. And this is a slowed down version to about 30% of what the initial movement appeared. You can see the third phase there, the fourth phase, the first phase with the initial drive, the catch, the kick, and the landing. So, evaluation of basic techniques. Because there is so much going on during this maneuver, there are many things that can go wrong. The first one, as can be seen in the picture on the left, is starting the maneuver with flexed arms instead of fully extended arms. This limits the range of motion and the production of force that can be created, as well as putting the muscles in a disadvantageous position. When they're already flexed and they're already actively in an isometric hold, it becomes that much harder to overcome that inertia and that initial position. Several other things that can go wrong are, as I started to mention before, foot slipping on the wall during any phase of the movement. If friction is not enough and the foot begins to slide, you leak some of the power and force that can be created. Some of the other problems can be not properly coordinating the pull and the kick to happen simultaneously in phase 2. If the pull is done too soon or the kick is done too soon, the body will be fighting against itself and not be able to create that moment of weightlessness that helps lift it up above the wall edge. A couple other things that can go wrong are excessive internal or external rotation of the hip or the shoulder joint, which can lessen torque and force. We'll see that in just a moment with the video. Another thing that can happen is a failure to flip the hands properly and transition from fingertips to flat palms, especially if the fingers get stuck underneath the body and the knuckles roll onto the top of the wall. This can not only be painful, but makes it that much harder to push properly out of the catch position. So here is a slowed down version from the rear of the individual's climb up. You'll be able to notice when he drives his leg, you can see that he has too much hip external rotation. Instead of driving straight up parallel to the wall, he turns his knee out, and in doing so, he robs himself of a little bit of that upward force. You can see that his arms are good. They don't extend internally or externally too much. But you will notice that his foot, the one that was flexed originally, slips ever so slightly as he starts the pull on the wall. This can be for a number of different reasons. Predominantly, they are environmental reasons, such as the wall being a little bit more slippery than usual. It can also be because the shoe doesn't have proper traction against the wall, but it can also be a technique failing, such as the foot being too low below the level of the hip, causing it to slide out from underneath because the force is not being applied into the wall, it's being applied down the wall, causing it to slip more. Here we can see a side profile and a back profile of the same maneuver. You can see in the side profile the foot slip that I was talking about. In this particular individual, he had 3 major issues, and that was the foot slip for the initial pull phase, the excessive hip external rotation during the drive, and also not focusing enough on a very sharp and hard knee drive. With a little bit faster knee drive on the initial kick, he'd be able to lift his body up to the point where his arms would already be in a locked out position instead of in a flexed position, forcing him to do essentially a dip exercise on the side of the wall in order to get himself to the lockout position. As you can see, my only real reference was the textbook. Like I said, this was because there was difficulty in finding any kind of information relating directly to this technique, but I hope that I have been able to show you some of the basics of a very complex maneuver, and that if you happen to be training someone who is a parkour athlete, you will be able to help them with this particular movement. Thank you very much.